Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. 101 ESPN, YouTube. 101 ESPN channel on YouTube. Think we can get 150 people in there talking it over today, Jackson?
I don't see why not.
Tiny Peepee, the recruiting he's doing, man, this guy's a John Calipari with what he's doing in that YouTube channel. It's a 101 ESPN YouTube channel, and today's Angry Beaver, boy, I guess it's probably a half and half?
That's right.
It is a half and a half.
Yeah.
I had been told it was a Tuesday Turbulence.
Well, that's what the show theme is.
Tuesday Turbulence.
But the questions themselves, brought to you by the fine folks over at the Angry Beaver,
Well,
is
they're good people.
the half and half.
Nice. All right. I also am going to do this. I'm going to make it clear at the outset. It's 10:04. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. My name is Tim McKernan. Act like you didn't know. That's Jackson Burkett. You might not have known that. I want this one today. Do you want this one today?
I always want it.
But yesterday, your dauber was down. The Jackson State thing was fresh. Yeah. Today, you're like, now you're bouncing back.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, day by day, minute by minute, we'll grow stronger. And we'll have a full, by about Thanksgiving, I'd say when I dig into that turkey.
That's when you'll be over the Jackson State loss, and then you'll be focused on Fayetteville, Friday, 3 p.m., and Sammy Pittman. Yeah,
absolutely. I'll also... some gambling, play some wagering.
Oh, are there any plays you like?
I need to look at the slate. We got to get closer at the time. Those games don't kick off till Thursday. So I like to, Wednesday afternoon, I'll take a look. Weather's so important, but I think all the games are indoors, which kind of sucks.
All the games on Thursday are indoors? We got Packers and Lions, and we know we have the Cowboys taking on somebody or another.
So those are two indoor stadiums. I don't think, I'm trying to think of, what's the other one?
Battlehawks?
If the Battlehawks were playing, it would certainly be indoors. I wouldn't mind some outdoor Thanksgiving football.
Okay. Well, I'll work on that for you.
Thank you.
Miami's playing on Friday. Black Friday game now.
Yeah, I like that.
Guess they're not scared about going up against Missouri, Arkansas. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you.
Jackson, I saw Kerry Davis outside in the hallway as I was entering the 101 ESPN studio, which, unlike the TMA studio, does not have, a fragrance that can stop a locomotive. I don't know what I think they're trying to smoke us out of our holes here at Hubbard Radio, and they now have a dead gerbil in the walls of the TMA studio.
Something in there is smelling like dude.
But it is refreshing to walk into a studio here for my 4th hour of broadcasting today, and the air be clean and crisp.
Pure is how I would describe it.
I would agree with that. And I said to Kerry, what were they talking about on the opening drive today? And the answer, Lance Lynn, as you might expect. And I would imagine that is the fire starter for today's Little Piddles Tuesday Turbulence. But I want to make this clear to the audience. $35 for my Venmo, which was replenished by the hashtag man this weekend.
Nice.
So I am a little humble brag, getting ready for Wednesday night before Thanksgiving as I go out there and I go trolling. I'm flush with cash.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to send $35 via my Venmo to whoever texts in a deep dive topic or our friends in the YouTube chat. Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. And, of course, the YouTube chat where Tiny PP probably wets his beak on that $35, I would assume. I would assume you get to keep 10 and Tiny PP probably gets to keep 25. That's just the way I think things work in that YouTube
Well, he's got to wet his beak
chat.
Just a touch.
There it is. 99 people in the YouTube chat right now. And Jackson says we're going to get to 150 today.
That's right.
All right, go on in there and see what's going on. I mean, it's an active place. So, Jackson, I assume your first question has to do with the comings and goings and goings and comings of November 20th, 2023 in the world of Cardinal baseball.
Indeed, Tim. Let Mo cook. What's he cooking? Lance Lynn, who's going to be eating some innings.
Wow. Resume reel line there.
Thank you, everybody.
Off to Binghamton you go.
Lance Lynn is the first pitcher the Cardinals have committed dollars to during this pivotal offseason. How do you think Cardinal fans are reacting to the one-year, $10 million deal in a vacuum, given the context of the payroll and the market? Do you like the move?
Well, Jackson, as you know, we were recording the Tim McKernan Show podcast in yesterday's episode titled Las Vegas Stories and JFK Thoughts?
Tales from Vegas and JFK Conspiracies.
There we go. And you can subscribe to that, the Tim McKernan Show podcast. And we were doing it yesterday right around noon. in the TMA studio, which at the time did not have a rotting gerbil
No.
in it.
It smelled more pure.
Did. And on the TMA fan page on Facebook, which you can join, the TMA fan page on Facebook. And I said to the members there, there's like 7,100, 7,200 members. I said, hey, Jackson and I are going to do an emergency QFTA, which stands for questions from the audience. And in that feed, somebody said, how excited are you about the Lance Lynn move? And I'm like, oh, did that happen? Because we were recording a podcast. And then sure enough, it happened. And I thought to myself, from a baseball standpoint, I like the move. Why? Because it's 1 year and he can eat innings. And I don't want to see the Cardinals get into an Aaron Nola 7-year kind of deal standpoint. So I like that. Now for what the Cardinals have said they want to do, I don't know if that necessarily meets it, because the Cardinals said they want to be contenders. Mm-hmm. And now your rotation is made up of Miles Mikolas, Steven Matz, and Lance Lynn. But it also means that of the $57 million you have earmarked to hit approximately $200 million as your budget for the 40-man roster payroll, you still have $47 million and 2 spots. I also would elaborate on this, and maybe I'm off the mark on it. Derek Gould, who has been doing a nice job, I think, of asking the question. He did yesterday in his chat. I always enjoy reading his chats on STLtoday.com. And then he point blank asked John Mozeliak this in Arizona a week or two ago. At what point would it have to get for you guys to pivot off of, we're going to contend next year, and go, it's not going to happen, and we're going to trade Goldschmidt and Arenado? And he revisited that yesterday, and he asked Mozeliak that point blank in Arizona as well. And that is just not what is on the table, according to Mozeliak. They're not going to do it. But I like that Derek Gould, who's been covering this team for 2 decades for the Post-Dispatch, is acknowledging that that's in play, whether the Cardinals are or not. Now, maybe the Cardinals will say it's not in play no matter what. But the Cardinals may have every intention in the world of signing a big-time pitcher. Snell, Yamamoto, whoever you would consider, if you want to include Montgomery in that category, Gray in that category. But just because they intend to doesn't mean that they will. So to me, you have to have a plan B. Along the lines of Derek Gould and reading between the lines, Derek used to appear on the Tim McKernan Show podcast, which Jackson and I were recording yesterday, and we saw the Lance Lynn news. And we would do these long-form conversations, kind of state of the Cardinals during the season and state of the Cardinal off-season. And I will tell you this, and maybe it shouldn't be surprising, I don't know, but I can tell you firsthand that he was absolutely in the know on what the Cardinals' goals were, and then it was as far as a player, specific player, and then how what wound up happening was not their goal. 2016, their goal was not to sign Dexter Fowler. Maybe that relieves people, maybe it doesn't. Their goal actually was Adam Eaton. And then when they saw how much the cost was for Adam Eaton in that trade with the White Sox and the Nationals, they go, oh, crap, we better get Dexter Fowler because the price of poker is way higher than we thought it was going to be. The year the Cardinals acquired Marcell Ozuna, the player the Cardinals always wanted was not Marcell Ozuna. It was Christian Yelich. And he told me that well before the Ozuna deal was done. But you saw what wound up happening.
Right.
And I would imagine most people would say, I think Yelich probably would have been the better play, and also not trading a Cy Young winner and Game 1 star of the World Series. But either way, that was what the mindset was. I don't know this one because Derek and I didn't have the State of the Union conversation last year, but I would say with a sense of confidence, the plan last year was not Wilson Contreras. It was Sean Murphy. We saw what wound up happening. And then the Cardinals, like Fowler, overpaid to get Contreras to St. Louis because they didn't want to leave that hole unfilled. And then perhaps because they were planning on trading commodities as opposed to spending dollars, they would have had dollars to acquire a pitcher last year, and then things got blown up. That is my theory on how this Wilson Contreras thing came to pass. Why do I include this historical context and offer praise to Derek Gould? Because in reading his stories and his chats, I get the sense that he has knowledge on the Cardinals' interest in not necessarily Blake Snell, but instead a name that I would be surprised if they were to acquire, and that name is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And if that is the case, oh my goodness, would I be excited. Mm-hmm. I would be thrilled. I'd be thrilled for a variety of reasons. Number one, he's 25. Number two, the Cardinals would be tapping into getting the second biggest free agent of this offseason, and also tapping into the Asian market, which they really haven't had a large presence in any capacity. I mean, you had So Taguchi 17 years ago, but other than that, that really hasn't been where the Cardinals have gone. And what a moment that would be for a city that is, all due respect, not real cosmopolitan relative to its counterparts on the coasts, acquiring Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It's not something that I'm expecting, but just reading Derek's story this morning and also his chat, I don't think it's something that is just like an absolute no. It also would mean the Cardinals went out and spent a hell of a lot of money, because most likely the total package, the posting fee, in addition to his contract, is going to have a 2 in front of it. But he's 25. You give me Yamamoto or Nola, I'm taking Yamamoto all day. So I'm not saying I expect it. I'm just telling you, the Dexter Fowler thing was not the plan. It was Adam Eaton, and then it got blown up. The Marcell Ozuna thing was not the plan. It was Christian Yelich. They were told Yelich wasn't available. I don't know this. I'm pretty confident on my read. Wilson Contreras was not the plan. Now, what they say at a press conference can be totally different. That's fine. I think Sean Murphy was the plan. And then you got Wilson Contreras. So if I'm reading between the lines, perhaps now the Cardinals can want Yamamoto all day long, and Yamamoto might be like, I'm not moving to St. Louis, or Yamamoto will be like, St. Louis can be interested all they want, but here's $300 million from the Boston Red Sox. I think I'll head there.
Right.
So it may not matter, but that's something that you now have 3 pitchers, and whether you're excited about the pitchers or not, I understand. But it does allow them to have $47 million still there to acquire a big name. So whether that be Snell, whether that be Yamamoto, I don't know. Maybe it's Montgomery. Maybe it's Gray. That's why the Lynn thing in a vacuum, I was on board with. I love it. A 1-year deal, because I just don't have the highest of expectations anyway, but I understand the move. Now, from an entertainment standpoint, it was even better because it sent Cardinal social media and, of course, some of our cohorts on TMA, the Plowhawk and Iggy, into an absolute tizzy, which entertains me. And then you follow that up with Daniel Descalzo coming back to be the bench coach. And now it's like, oh my God, the Cardinals don't have a reunion tour with Pujols, Wainwright, and Molina anymore, so they got to come up with another one. And now you have Lynn and Descalzo, and they'll sell bobbleheads. And so it just leads to what I find to be entertainment, because it is legitimately amusing to me. But as far as baseball goes, I like the move. 1-year deal. Good. Great. I can't wait to see what happens with Yamamoto. 25-year-old and have that kind of track record. It's not in Major League Baseball, though. So that might be your caveat emptor, Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I took 4 years of Latin, so I'm pretty much intellectually phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
I see some parallels to 2 years ago with the Steven Matz signing. When you look at the AAV and kind of like what kind of pitcher they are, it was also the timing of the deal. Matz was signed in November 21. Lance Lynn, obviously, November 21, both making 10, 11 for Matz. And great if you're just getting a guy to pitch. Like in a vacuum, like we've said, great. The thing with the Matz thing in 21 was that was basically the only move they made. Yeah. So if Lance Lynn is followed up by other pitching talent, bigger money stuff.
It's got to be. I mean, there's just no way it's not.
100%. But that's like if Matz was followed up by a couple other players, pitchers or otherwise.
I agree with you, which also is the way that move was represented a couple of years ago.
Right.
Not that would be about it.
Right.
Similar to Wilson Contreras. when that move was made, we weren't going, okay, that'll do it. They're ready to go.
Right.
And then we started getting, the Jack Flaherty thing of last spring, which still is just like, oh, don't bluff at the pot. I feel badly for you for bluffing at the pot. So the Yoshinobu Yamamoto situation, he has posted. He is now free to be negotiated with. And that's a 25-year-old. That's a different program than going, oh, my God, we're going to be paying somebody $30 million who's 37 years old. That is what I, as a Cardinal fan and talk show host, podcast host, that is what I'm hoping to avoid.
Question for you.
I'm taking questions.
Do you think Yamamoto, who posted this morning and now is 45 days to be spoken to about free agency, do you think it's better that Ohtani has not yet signed for teams like the Cardinals because some of the bigger...
Yes, I see where you're following, and I think you're exactly right.
Bigger teams might be saving up.
The Nola thing, which I don't think was necessarily about... his agent saying, okay, we got to capitalize on this because Ohtani's still out there. So here's the deal. You got to sign. We got to get it while all these teams are still in the mix.
Right.
I think that was just a guy who wanted to stay in Philadelphia, and that was his priority. And the rest of the baseball teams, that was irrelevant because he knew he wanted to go to Philadelphia. That's what I think. I don't know that. I know he said that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the case. But certainly it's not like Philadelphia was the only team knocking on his door. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed on November 17th. Or 18th, whatever the hell it was. This, I think, as long as Ohtani's out there, teams have to be cognizant of that if that is their top priority. Well, he's not the top priority, I don't think anyway, for the Cardinals. No. And on the surface, if it weren't for Derek writing about it, and if you want to take into the Lars Nootbaar thing, in the relationship there, but it's not like that's Yamamoto's only friend, but... I just don't think Derek's writing it if there isn't something there. But again, the Cardinals may have a lot of interest. It doesn't matter if Yamamoto's like, my top priority is to go and pitch for this team on the West Coast or this team on the East Coast or this team that gives me $40 more million than the Cardinals are willing to. I don't know. Let me put it this way: if the Cardinals were like plus 1,500 to get him. And there are sites that give you the Cardinals were the favorite to get Nola on one site. I don't know if you saw that. They were plus 200. Wow. I would put $100 on the Cardinals to get Yamamoto. Again, that's because they're plus 1,500. It's not because I'm expecting it. It's a value thing, exactly. All right, it's 10:20. It means Marty's super late. Whatever, that's the deal. It's Balloon Party, driven by Mung and S. Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on YouTube. Welcome back. This is Balloon Party. It's 101 ESPN. My name is Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett, and this program is 1 hour. A lot of people say it's 1 hour too long.
I'd like to meet those people.
Yeah.
Give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah. Who wants a piece of us? We are here to scrap with you.
Yep.
We do sports talk radio, and therefore we are badasses who have all of the answers, even though only one of us was able to make a high school team.
Right, but we still will stand back-to-back in promo pictures,
That's
arms
right.
folded.
That's right.
Yeah, one of us might be like cigar in mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, want a piece of that? I'm going to go into this YouTube chat and see what's doing. But in the meantime, Jackson, you said you got 5 more questions for what's called Tuesday Turbulence presented by Angry Beaver?
I sure do, Tim.
It's a lot of Cardinal discussion here, and I like it. The people are activated. That's good. Welcome, people.
Absolutely.
Nice. There was a pause there. And
I'm sorry.
What was going on? What was going on? Let the listeners behind the scenes. What was going on? And let me in, too.
Well, I'm trying to decide on the next question I ask.
Okay. Because
one of the questions I have is very, I wouldn't say buttoned up or like scripted, but there is some things I have to do with it. It's in regard to the Athletics 2023 MLB Fan Survey,
right?
Which I found to be very interesting.
I did as well,
and I really enjoyed it. I'd like to get your perspective on some of the things and compare that to the fans. But I
disagree with a lot of the number one answers in that poll.
I thought you would, so yeah. I think it's good. But I'm gonna wait on that. I'll tease that.
Nice, you're getting better at teasing.
And instead, kind of on a topic we were talking about just last segment, think about the Cardinals offseason. Let's say once every 8 years, the Cardinals make one crazy play, like one where they spend a ton of money on a player, and we'll exclude the Wilson Contreras deal from last year.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say this is starting a new 8-year window. Would you, if you were to pick one player to be that crazy price tag, would Yamamoto be the one? Would you go all in on a player like Yamamoto who has not proven it at the major league level?
So here's the thing about that. It's a great question. We see in Major League Baseball, you want to talk about 1 out of every 8 years. That's kind of what it comes to when you see a situation like, I mean, even Albert Pujols was 21 when he made his debut. Harper, a rare one. Soto, a rare one. And those, of course, are position players who can hit free agency. I mean, Juan Soto's still only 25. And you're like, my God, he's been around forever.
Right.
He's only 25. Bryce Harper, he was able to command what he commanded, not because of just his talent, but because of the age when he hit the free agent market. So with free agent pitchers, very rarely, and I mean very rarely, do you see a pitcher enter Major League Baseball at a young age, and I would go as quote, old, by the way, as 21.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Because that's not really...
Strasburg is like the only one I can think of in recent memory that would have done something like that.
In the 2012 Nationals, and the Cardinals got to dodge him in the playoffs because they put an innings cap on him. But we saw in St. Louis with Rick Ankiel.
Yeah.
Now, Ankiel was actually pitching when he was 19. But I remember because we were both around the same age, and I asked him how his 21st birthday party was because they were out in Arizona for it, and I figured it was probably entertaining. And he turned 21 in, I gather, the 2000 season. So had what wound up happening to him with his control, he would have potentially been on that rare trajectory where you hit free agency as a superstar pitcher in your mid-20s. Mm-hmm. For the most part, the way that it works in Major League Baseball with starting pitching is you are paying peak dollars for previous performance in which the player has most likely already peaked. So in the case of Snell, a theme from a lot of baseball writers this offseason, and Buster Olney wrote a piece this morning, is that Snell is a be careful situation because he doesn't necessarily have the control to, as a ace lefty, to be able to do what you're going to need to do as you age,
right? And
pitch as opposed to below pitches by guys, and you could really be in a big risk there. So that's one that some guys were like, let's go with Nola, not Snell, because of that. The counter to Yamamoto is he's a 25-year-old, wonderful, But he's a 25-year-old who hasn't done it in the major leagues. He's a 25-year-old who's done it in Japan. So, with regard to Yamamoto specifically, personally, I would be really excited about it. But this is not the equivalent of getting Bryce Harper, who was a little older than 25 when he went to the Phillies, because Bryce Harper had done it in the major leagues. It's a bigger game. I mean, it's a huge game. For whoever does it, it's a huge gamble. It's just some franchises are able to absorb the loss better than the Cardinals would be. At the same time, if it hits, you have this guy at 25 years old. And that's why it's like, okay, if it doesn't work out next year, then fine. When he's 26, you still have him. Right. And something running parallel to all of these conversations that we spent a lot of time this time last year talking about, and to me is still a very material part of any Cardinal conversation, is the following. John Mozeliak flew to Orange County last year to meet with Nolan Arenado before he made the decision to opt out or just waive that right to do so. And he chose not to. There is no way, I just don't, for the life of me, I will not believe that a guy who's a baseball guy too, like Nolan Arenado, was going, yeah, get Contreras and we'll be good. Let's see what happens. I won't opt out. I just can't believe that. So I think running parallel to this is the Cardinals not only need to, for attendance purposes, get the fan base fired up, but then also, if they are going to go this route, which John Mozeliak, as I mentioned in the first segment, has told Derek Gould point blank, to Derek's credit, he asked him one-on-one, it sounds like, in Scottsdale a couple of weeks ago, hey, if you can't get all these guys, maybe a pivot and trade off Goldschmidt and Arenado. That's not happening. Mozeliak said categorically no. Okay, well, that means Arenado's here. Arenado didn't opt out. Arenado, while he is certainly closer to the end of his career, it's not like he's 38, then there is an obligation, I believe, that they feel that they have to deliver. And so, therefore, this might be the spot where they do it. And that is why I am confident in a major way that the Cardinals are going to spend a huge amount of money on one of these pitchers. I mean, God, if I could bet it, actually, if anybody's interested, you know I will. I will absolutely bet with you. I'm not saying I'm going to agree with it. My concern is it's going to be for somebody I don't agree with and a contract that I don't agree with. Like, if they could have gotten Contreras for 3 years, I wouldn't be as vocal about the Wilson Contreras thing as I have been. It's about the contract size. It's not black or white. There's nuance to it. But the Yamamoto one is certainly, I don't want to say it's the highest risk, because anytime you have a pitcher on your staff and you're paying him $30 million or $25 million and he's in his 36 and 37-year-old season, that's a problem. I think it's a problem anyway. But this is different because he's 25, big-time upside, but he hasn't pitched at the major league level. And is he going to be able to come over and deliver? I personally like it because I think the Cardinals do need to take a gamble, because there isn't a clear solution to the starting pitching problem. But I think you do have a clear problem if you are paying a guy in his mid to late 30s as a starting pitcher a bunch of money, especially with having Wilson Contreras on the payroll in his mid to late 30s. You already know that's going to be there. And so if you're talking about $50 to $60 million just for those two players in their mid to late 30s, how are you going to build a team around those two players? That just doesn't stand to reason from just a simple math standpoint. But a 25-year-old, that's a different spot. And I combine that with the Derek Gould thing, I'm just like, that's my read. And again, Yamamoto has to want to be here, but I just like, maybe this Yamamoto thing has always been the play. You got the posting fee and the contract. I don't know. Maybe I'm off the mark. I got a break. Your thoughts welcome. 314-399-9646. Tim McKernan, Action Jackson with you. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on YouTube.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues will be back in action tomorrow night. You can catch that game right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN, as they take on the Arizona Coyotes. Pre-game will start at 7 p.m. and the puck drops at 8 p.m. But tonight, if you're looking to hear some NBA action, you can catch it right here on 101 ESPN with some in-season tournament group stage action as the 76ers take on the Cavaliers. Pre-game at 6 p.m. and tip-off at 6:30. Last night in the NBA, the Hornets defeat the Celtics 121-118. Despite the loss, Jason Tatum put up 45 points. That was another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Well, you're right, Jackson. There is breaking news, and it wasn't that NBA score you gave the people during your SportsCenter update, although that would also fall under the guise of breaking news. No, the breaking news is the YouTube chat did indeed hit 150 people on this 101 ESPN channel as the Balloon Party YouTube chat has become the equivalent of the Viper Room in Los Angeles. Come one, come all. You might not be able to get in. Maybe it's more like Studio 54 and 78.
Mm-hmm. Invite only.
Yeah.
We'll have to see
but
it.
alas, it has happened. Tiny PP deserves some kind of royalties.
It has to. A little piece, a little nugget.
And they're talking about Thanksgiving side dishes, so that's all running parallel to the program as well.
Love it.
Yeah. Text into the program, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. I guess the deep dive thing, we're already at 1041. So this Cardinal thing, it really does have me going the Lance Lynn thing. I'm so good with that. Not because I'm like, they're good, let's go get them. But I understand the logic behind it.
Right. As of November 21st, 2023, totally makes sense.
Right.
Let's reevaluate come February and see.
It's a low-risk play.
Right.
Allowing you to get risky if you want to. So let's see what winds up transpiring here. How quickly you think, let me put it this way. Who signs first, Yamamoto or Ohtani? Go.
I'll say...
This is such an ESPN, like Orlovsky, Stephen A. Smith thing, because neither one of us know, and we'll just, take a stand.
I will say...
And we'll embrace debate.
Indeed. I will say Ohtani signs first.
I think I'll go Yamamoto, and I'm not just doing that because we're doing sports talk radio, and I'm obligated contractually to take the opposite stance and defend it to my death.
What point do we start screaming?
God. I think my kind of move is to storm out of the studio.
Oh, yeah. Throw something on the way out.
Right.
And then slam the door so that the mics pick it up.
Ideally. That's kind of my move. You don't have to have a third question on this Little Piddles Tuesday Turbulence brought to you by Angry Beaver, do you?
I do. And I have the Athletics MLB survey pulled up, and I want to see.
I read this, and this thing pissed me off.
Good. Well, let's kick it off with, the Athletics surveyed 13,500 of their subscribers. So these are baseball fans.
Really, actually, more soccer fans if you look at the top red articles on The Athletic.
Yeah, well, either way.
Friends from Europe.
Sure, and we love having them. How does your enjoyment of consuming baseball now compare to 10 years ago? 1 being less enjoyable, 5 being more enjoyable.
Sure, I'll handle that, Jackson. 1.
1, okay. The leading vote getter in the survey was 4. That had 35%. Your vote, number 1, less enjoyable, had 4.3%.
That's fine. I'm comfortable with my stance, understanding it won't be popular, but decades from now, they'll name high schools after me.
Indeed. Where do you watch the majority of your Major League Baseball action, meaning games and or highlights? Your choices: TV, streaming on MLB TV, other streaming, MLB at Bat app, social media, or YouTube?
It's television, but I feel like I burn more calories trying to find the games and then working with Bailey's app than I do running 5 miles.
Yeah, that was the leading vote getter at 47%. Less on the reasoning. I can't speak to that, but I can say that TV was the leading vote getter.
What was second?
Streaming on MLB TV, third, streaming other places. So that is the current state of baseball media. What is the ideal size of the Major League Baseball playoff field? Your choices are 12 teams, like we have now, 10 teams, like 2012 to 2019, COVID year not counting, and then 2021, 8 teams, like 1994 to 2011, or other.
This was the one where, as you might imagine, I got upset. I'm like, who are these people they're talking to? You can't possibly enjoy this. Well, you know what? This really isn't a guest-driven program. None of the shows I do are guest-driven programs. But there was a gentleman, I don't know if you saw it on ESPN, and it's not a name that's like recognizable like Passan or Buster Olney, who like reasoned the ways to already fix the baseball postseason and the variety of different options. And I'd like to get him on because I could tell it was a good faith effort. Number one, with regard to the question on this and the fact that almost 40% said this is the best one.
38.4%.
Well, I'm a tiny guy. Let's be honest about it. I weighed in this morning at 154 pounds. I'm 4'10". Right. Now I wear lifts that are like stilettos.
Yeah. Yep. You're basically on stilts.
I am. But I might want to fight all 38% of these people. You can't possibly tell me that the number 6 seed in the National League going to the World Series back-to-back years, like, yeah, we got the right thing going. So one of the ideas this guy came up with, and I liked it. I say this guy just because I can't remember his name. Was that Major League Baseball get to a point where it's like soccer, where there's a regular season championship, and then there's a World Series championship, and he goes, we know it will work when players are jumping on each other like they won the World Series when they won the regular season championship. And I thought, in a utopian sports world, that would be wonderful if that were to be able to happen.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. I doubt if you talk to Chris Pronger or Al McInnes or recent Hall of Fame inductee, you know who I'm talking about from the 2000 Blues.
Right, that scrappy guy.
He's always described as scrappy. Pierre Turgeon.
Yeah, you could have given me 1 million guesses.
I don't think they look back on the 2000 President's Trophy and go, sure, we lost in 7 to the 8-seed Sharks, but my God, we'll always have the President's Trophy. So, Pronger was a part of the oil that, of course, now has Alex Pietrangelo, and they were an 8 seed when they went to the Stanley Cup final. We saw the Kingy do it at the cost of the Blues 11 years ago as an 8 seed. The regular season, you can't make that happen. So this whole thing with baseball's playoffs, everybody's just kind of accepting the truth. They can't reduce the games.
Right.
So it's like, let's increase the games, but we can't reduce the teams because we can't reduce the number of games. They are in a bad spot. And just kind of accepting, the best team might not win it, but isn't that fun? Yes, it would be. It'd be great if James Madison shipped the college football playoff. That's why I answer the question, my enjoyment on baseball is because I used to love the season-long marathon and that you were rewarded if you got there. And now it's like the effing NCAA tournament. And it really does bother me. This is not Orlovskian. This is not Dan Orlovsky, Daniel Day-Lewis channeling character. It does bother me. Not much bothers me in sports. That really bothers me. Jackson, I guess it's 10:47. I need to break it. Ask another one. Do it. You know what? We're rebels. We got 150 people in the YouTube chat.
Which 2 cities would you most like to see get a new franchise? Some of the options here.
I saw Montreal and Nashville won this, right?
Montreal and Nashville. Nashville, 57%.
What is the deal with the Montreal? Why does Montreal always get this?
I couldn't tell you.
I have no idea why Montreal always wins these votes. I enjoyed Tim Raines hiding cocaine in his sock like the next guy, but I don't necessarily feel like they were well-attended games. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what that's about.
Yeah. Some of the other cities listed: Charlotte, Portland, Salt Lake City, Vancouver, Orlando, San Antonio, Austin, Mexico City, Vegas, but that obviously is taken care of, New Orleans, Buffalo, Sacramento, Omaha, Indianapolis, San Juan, and Puerto Rico. San Juan in Puerto Rico, I should say.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you're looking at through the lens of what's going to make you the most money, and of course, that is the lens. Or what is a fan you would like to see? I don't know. I mean, I want lively atmospheres.
Yeah, Nashville would certainly lean into that.
So it'd be nice to take Tampa out of Tampa.
Yeah,
I would think Nashville would have a lively atmosphere.
Nashville, I think Vancouver would be interesting. They're very passionate sports fans, and I think if you're trying to expand,
some Blues Canucksing in Vancouver,
if you're trying to expand more in Canada, Vancouver's lovely, and add more West Coast teams. So I would go Nashville and Vancouver.
There it is. Jackson's in. You are not on the Montreal. I just don't understand the Montreal thing.
Yeah,
I'm not anti-Montreal. I just don't understand why it always gets named.
Right, and I can hear where you're coming from with that. And I picked another Canadian city, so it's not like a Canada thing.
So you're worried Jamie Rivers is about to walk in here?
No, he knows better.
And he's probably in Phoenix, getting ready at the mullet. Yeah, Jeremy Rutherford sent us. He was doing some scouting of the Coyotes and Kings last night and sent us a picture.
I swear on everything, there was probably more people at high school basketball games I've been to than that little arena they got there.
We'll take a break. Final segment of Balloon Party next. This is 101 ESPN and YouTube.
Hey folks, it's time to talk to you about the world's largest sports book in Las Vegas, and now it is in Illinois. That's right, the Circa Sports app is now available in the great state of Illinois. So if you live here in St. Louis, you just make the short drive across the river, or if you already live in Illinois, sign up for the Circa Sports app, because the Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be, with big app bets, high betting limits, tight money line splits, and the best customer service around. You're not going to talk to a chatbot. If you ever run into issues with Circa Sports, you can get in contact with a real human. Matter of fact, the same people that run the Circa Resort out in Las Vegas. It's also a sports gambling app made by sports gamblers. So they encourage you to shop the lines. Take a look around the other sports books in Illinois, and then come back to Circa. I'm pretty confident you're going to like the lines over at Circa more. So if you're looking to bet on some Thanksgiving football, rivalry week here, and college football, let me suggest to you the Circa Sports app. Visit circasports.com for more details and get ready to start betting like a pro. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234.
Well, Jackson, you're right. We do have breaking news, and that is, first off, that we got to 160 in the YouTube chat for Balloon Party.
Hell yeah.
And then secondly, Mike Shildt is now the manager of the San Diego Padres. Mike Shildt will be announced this afternoon, per Jeff Passan of ESPN, as the new manager of the San Diego Padres. I'm legitimately happy for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got really high-pitched there, so I'm going to call and see what you do on the turn, because something doesn't feel right. I feel like you might have pocket fives, and you're going set mining.
Right, and you are the king of reading folk.
I am.
And so I always yield to you on that. But I think my natural cadence when in response is a high-pitched.
So you're always lying. Or you're pathological, compulsive?
Or I lie and tell the truth at the same cadence, which would be lethal.
Oh, wow, dangerous. I am happy for him. I've heard a variety of stories as to what transpired here in St. Louis. Rarely in sports news in 2023. Of course, that was a couple of years ago. But point being, in this era, do you have news that blindsides you and you don't hear rumblings of it first? And that firing was one of them. I think the biggest one still, where I was just floored, was the PGA Tour Live thing out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
On what was that, CNBC, I believe, is
Yep.
where the announcement was.
Yep.
Boy, that's an all-timer. It just isn't the way that things usually work. And in this case, I don't know if it's the biggest endorsement of Shildt that it took this long, and they interviewed a whole lot of people, even though he's been on their staff for a while. But hey, you know what? I'm sure he's like, I got another shot, and I'm going to maximize it. Tough thing for him is he is taking over a team that is most likely trending in a different direction than the one they thought they were trending in this time last year with all of their acquisitions.
Right. Yeah, he's certainly taking over a team that has plenty of money on the payroll spent.
But not a lot of latitude.
No, and not a lot of, like you said, not a lot of room to move. So, happy for him for sure. And when he originally went to the Padres after the Cardinals, I thought eventually this would be...
Oh, I thought it happened quicker.
Yeah, right.
I thought it would happen quicker.
Right, because it was Melvin before him.
That's correct.
Right.
And he went and took over the Giants gig.
Yeah, so it makes sense for the Padres. I'm curious to see the whole Juan Soto thing and how that ends up working out. I don't know if the Padres... I don't know, and also
Are you interested in a wager?
I always am. Yeah, well...
Thank you.
I like that.
Don Corleone. Juan Soto will be traded by spring training.
Ooh, it's spring training.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll throw 20 on that.
20 it is. Book it.
Booked.
All right, there it is. I didn't see you writing anything. Are you like one of those wait staff members who just memorize your order and come back?
No.
Like we're at Nobu?
My brief couple weeks doing food service, I was so bad. So bad. I would forget things all the time. I'd have to go in and tell the chefs afterwards, hey, I forgot to tell you that this person wants this off their sandwich.
Oh, I bet they loved that.
They hated me so much. I was so bad at it. It was just not for me. And I respect the hell out of people who do that for a living.
Oh, my gosh.
That is honest work right there.
Offering an olive branch to the proletariat, which is so rare for the noble class to do.
Right. Well, it took me a while to come down from my ivory tower. I'm not as nimble as I once was, but now that I have...
Of course, as a meat and potatoes guy, bus tables and wash dishes at Pietro's in South St. Louis.
Right.
Because I had to learn about how much $1 is to everybody else who didn't get a chance to go to Horton Watkins or MICDS or Burroughs or Villa. I'm a meat and potatoes guy.
Right.
And that's who I am. I am the proletariat.
No doubt.
I'm Lech Walesa.
You're the kind of guy who goes to dinner at a restaurant, sees that the bus staff needs some help, and you just start clearing tables.
I do.
And you don't want tips. That's not what you're in it for.
Yeah. Manual labor. That's what they call me. Manual labor. I'm happy to do it. You need some help? That's me. I bust tables for 4 years, Jackson.
Right. Need a tree pruned? This guy.
I'll do it. Bust tables, wash dishes, whatever it took at Pietro's.
Right.
It was a wonderful experience.
Right. Yeah, you're next man up.
I am next man up. Yeah. So I didn't say, Dad, I don't want to wait tables any longer. The chef won't call me Mr. Burkett. You talk like that as a British boy, like a fancy lad, I noticed.
Yes, yep, that's exactly a posh British accent in central corridor St. Louis. You see it all the time, ever since the Rams played there.
That's what, ever since the Rams and Patriots game, we've been loaded with posh Londoners.
St. Louisans changing their accents.
I'd like to do a deep dive on Kevin Demoff's appearance on Channel 2, in which he tried to sell the move of the Rams game against the Patriots as an opportunity for St. Louis to bring in British tourists. I remember watching that live. We were doing TMA. I go, I can't believe this guy. I mean, wow. In a way, I almost admired the brazenness of the whole thing. Little did I know he had more up his sleeve. Time for us to go. BK and Ferrario are up next. For Action Jackson, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Mung and S. Burkhardt. Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on YouTube.